Three of them are going to help us get started. I'm going to be, I just gave them a free tutorial, so I am going to watch as they do this and maybe talk a little bit. So we're going to first set up our 4 backdrop stands. So if you could, they're backdrop tripod stands, excuse me. So that's 1.
Okay.
3. Whoops, 3, 2, and 3. All right. Now, what I'm handing these folks are bags we're going to be using for weights. These will be filled, each bag will get 5 water bottles in them. And they're going to slip it over the neck of each of these stands. And they're going to rest them on the leg of the tripod. So
Okay. 5 water bottles. Yeah. Okay.
5 water bottles. And the reason why is that's 5 pounds per leg.
Mhm.
And that's a total of 15 pounds. We're going to set up all 4 tripod stands first.
So just so you guys know, when it comes to you, there are 2 sets of tripod stands for a total of 4 legs. One tripod stand is a little different than the other, but they really do work essentially the same way. There's no tips or tricks, but they will look a little different from each other.
Why
So
would
don't be surprised by that.
Why would you use one rather than the other?
No, you have to use both.
Oh, all 4?
Yes, you have to use all 4. They're about 10 feet each. The banner is about 18 feet. So you need 2 of them in order to fit the width of the banner.
Okay.
Here's on the screen bottom.
You can see Aaron pushing out the legs on this one. Actually works better if you put it the other way and then sort of yeah, there you go. There you go. And then that you need to turn that knob right there. And that will tighten the legs.
And the important thing to notice here is that this horizontal bars are horizontal to the floor. We want them at the farthest part that they can be at.
Okay.
Okay. All right. The other part that you may notice is this one has a knob. These are of the same kit. And this one just has wing nuts on it.
Can you show that again, Kathleen?
This has a knob at the end of it. The other one has a wing nut on it. These will get very close together. So let's just put these 2 really close together like this.
So your middle ones, you're going to have 2 in the middle and you want to get their feet sort of crisscrossed.
Yeah.
And as close together as possible, okay?
And each have knobs on them. And the reason why is we don't want any rips into the top of the banner.
Just the folks who are attending, did you have a question? I noticed some question about it didn't look like something you expected. Is there something you needed us to pause?
I think I said it doesn't look like the examples in the manual.
This process of putting it up on a stand like this is brand new. So the guide that you currently have was made before we had everything together and put it up on a stand. So we did the best we could to explain that. We didn't have any photos to show you yet.
Okay.
We will be updating that with better photos and better explanations now that we've gone through the process. So it will be, the next version will be clearer, but hopefully this is enough to get you through, at least for tonight, step by step. It should be pretty similar.
Okay, so we do not have 2 identical tripod stand backdrop kits, right? They're slightly different. So the poles for this one come in 1 kit and they match this particular frame. So what we're going to do is take the nuts off. Peggy, can you take off the knob over there? Aaron's going to put this on. It has a hole in it. It's obvious it has to go there. There's washers. Okay. We have extra washers here as well. We also have extra wing nuts. All right. And then, sorry, then you can put on the next one.
So the ones with the holes on the ends are where it gets attached here. So there's this middle piece that does not have holes on it that will connect between these 2.
Okay. And this particular version just twists onto it. And then, yeah, and that locks it. Yeah. All right, so now you're just gonna put the knob on lightly because we're, whoops.
We're probably gonna have to pull that far.
Yeah.
If when you put the poles together, there you end up with this
Yeah,
gap,
put it on.
you have to move your outside leg in
Yeah.
towards the middle.
Oh, you want me to go this way? All right. And Peggy's just gonna put the knob on gently right now because we're gonna take it off in just a minute.
So you can see here with this kit, Sean put these two pieces together and they have those little knobs that sort of lock into place, which is a little different than the other one. Same process here, though. You slide the hole onto that screw and then you screw it in.
Okay. So this one takes forever to unknot. Just goes on and on and on and on. All right, and then we're just gonna gently put it together. The end pieces we can put on tightly. Yeah, but the middle pieces, we're just doing it softly. What we're gonna do is we're gonna make this one the same height as this one. So the way we do is we start at the bottom, we just unscrew it. You got it over there, Ryan?
So when Kathleen says start at the bottom, there's these series of knobs. You start with the bottom knob, and then this portion you will slide up to be even with the one next to it.
Okay, there we go. And is that roughly about the right height, do you think?
And it doesn't have to be perfect.
Like a little lower, maybe?
A little lower. Good.
That's about good, yeah.
All right, and then you just tighten it for a bit. Go ahead.
Hopefully I'm gonna do this.
They're just gonna take the knobs back off. And this will help figure out exactly how far away they need to be.
This is a sort of a middle piece that adjoins the two frames together. First, you slip it into the horizontal bar. You were right, yeah. Just like that, and you
Line
get your
us up.
your holes lined up. You do the same thing on the other side. You slide it on, line up your poles,
Doesn't line it up with this.
and then you place it on top of
There.
and then you screw it in.
And so you can see that the knobs there, you won't run the risk of it being poking through the fabric.
So as you can see, the two frames are now joined together by this middle white plastic piece, okay?
Right. Yes, I like that. Banner weight starts.
Right.
All right, so now we get the banner out, right?
Now we get the banner out.
Okay, so.
Are you guys ready for this?
Yeah.
These are the two suitcases that the banner and the parchment pieces that you can add to the banner come in.
And they're all labeled.
So this is the label for the one that is the main art piece. And it's just, you know, rolled up and tied together with these sort of rubber lashes that will be, that also serve a secondary purpose, but for most of you, those won't come into play because you're just doing stationary stuff. So you just untie it. If it's really stubborn, you can always cut it and use one of the other lashes later.
Yeah, we have a lot of extra ones. All right,
And this is the fun part. Okay, here we go. Woo!
here's each of these bags that carry the kit for the backdrop frames, they have a ton of clamps on them. So basically, you're just gonna clamp them just on the inside of the knobs here at the end. And we'll start with the ends and then we'll do the other end. So there you go. And then so. And then how do you wanna? Oh, and then.
Couple, 2 or 3 feet.
Pretty well. This frame should be about 19 feet, I think. So, All right.
Show them
Yeah.
how to raise it.
Yeah, raise, yeah, raise.
Raise, everyone's voting to
Raise.
see how it's raised up.
You raise it at the top first.
So when she says top, she's talking about this top knob. If you loosen this, then you can raise this top part right here, okay? So Kathleen is saying that ideally you would have 4 people for this step. You would have 3 people, 4 people working the legs to raise it. A 5th person is helpful if they stand out and tell you when it's level. But you can go back and forth for that if you have to. You see how they've untwisted their top part and they're all raising slowly. So then you have to be careful to lock it in. You twist these real tight. So then now they're going to the next one. And then everyone will raise together slowly. And you're gonna find your legs kind of move at this stage. You don't want to raise it too much because it could come out entirely. You want to make sure you have enough to lock onto. And if you have to sort of kick your legs forward or sideways to get them on the ground, you want to make sure all 3 feet are on the ground. Like this one. Erin, can you step back for 1 sec? You can see this one. I don't know if it's showing well in this video, but you can see on this particular leg, that back leg's kind of coming off the ground. That just means we need to kick it forward just a little bit. And now all 3 legs are securely on the ground.
So have to wait.
And it sounds confusing, but really it's not. Like once you have it in your hands, you'll be able to figure that out really quickly. So I'm going to take everyone to the outside so they get a nice view of it. And then together we'll tell you if it's even. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
There she is.
Whoa.
All right. So Erin, it is too low on your end, but I think your bottom piece is as far up as it can go. So it might be your top piece that needs to be raised. Just be careful that it doesn't come all the way out on you. So the one stand is apparently slightly shorter than the other, and you can probably see that in the video here. This side is shorter than that side. So we're going to have Peggy lower her corner to make it more even. Not that it's critical. It doesn't have to be even. It's not going to change anything. But if you're particular about visuals, that's what you would do.
So it
Peggy,
goes up higher, right?
that's as high as the stationary stand goes. That's about 10 feet,
Oh,
maybe 9 feet.
okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah,
Quick question. The extension poles there with the 2 parts, is there a way for you to mark where the poles should be pulled out to? Like if they're fully extended, could you put like a white mark or something around the pole to show that that's where it should stop?
absolutely. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Mary Emily, can you make a note of that, please? Yeah, we will use some white paint. Now, keep in mind, as those raise and lower through different events, that paint might start to chip away. So if any of you want to retouch that line when you have it, if it looks like it's getting too faint, please, by all means, do so.
Okay. Acrylic markers are really good for that.
Yep. Yep, and we have lots of those, so. So that's the piece all by itself, and it probably looks kind of almost like oblong because I'm using the vertical filming right now. But you can sort of get the scale of it. Kathleen, how tall are you, Kathleen? Yeah, she's 5'7". So it's probably about 8 feet total extension, maybe 9 feet. And we will take a look at those and see if there's, like you said, we will mark the furthest extension. We'll get it even and mark it so that you guys know when it's even.
So
Okay.
when you're stationary, it only goes up about 10 feet.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. I mean, unless you have a balcony or something to attach it to. If you're using the frame kit that we're sending along, that's as tall as it gets.
Okay.
But it still looks really impressive when you walk in a room.
Oh, yeah.
Especially once if you attach the signature panels too.
Mm-hmm.
So do we want to attach a signature panel?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that. While we're unpacking, does anyone have any questions or thoughts?
So there aren't poles that make it go up higher. You
There
just,
are.
oh,
There are the extension poles that are used for marching it. And
Mhm.
if you have people who are strong and sturdy, you could use those instead of the frame that we're sending along.
mhm.
But there's no, like, they can't walk away. They're going to be standing there holding those poles the whole time. And if there's like wind and stuff like that, like, it can be arduous after a while. But if
Okay.
you're doing it for a short while, absolutely. If you want to sort of do a presentation like from the extendable poles, which Mary Amney has right here, those extend up to 23 feet high.
Ooh,
So yeah, you absolutely could use those instead, or in combination, you could sort of start out with that and then transfer it over to one of the backdrop stands. You will have all that equipment. That's all going to come to you guys.
okay. So those extension poles go on they don't go on the stands.
They don't go on the stands. No,
They-
there's no stand for those.
Okay. They just go on the top of the cross piece.
They connect, you use two of them to make the top crossbar. And then you have three of them that are vertical. So you need three people holding them. And then the vertical bar is attached to the two that you make the top bar out of.
Okay.
It's a bit more labor intensive than putting it on the frames.
Okay.
We're too old. We're too old. Betsy.
But remember, you guys have, I think, in your schedule, you have one full day at least before your event.
Right.
So you could certainly experiment and see which you like and which you think will work for you. You'll
Okay.
have time.
Yeah.
We're unpacking pieces and parts right now, but this is one of the parchment pieces that has been signed. We're pretty sure most of them came from Minnesota, if not all of them.
Mm.
One of them looks like it's been in use since 2025. There were some dates on it of 2025.
Wow.
There's lots of interesting messages on them. So I'm just giving you a heads up about that. There's a lot of wonderful, beautiful messages, but there's some colorful language as well. Plus there's the blank. So Springfield is going to be using one of the blanks, the blank that we got. So, again, we can't control what people write on there, but chances are they won't be as full. These are very full. I mean, there's still room, but they are quite full.
So we won't have a blank one.
You won't have a totally blank one, but you're very shortly after Springfield. So yours will, if you want to use that one, there will be probably quite a bit of space left on that one.
Okay. And then you can get one of these others that is partially full too, or they're all pretty full.
This one, this is one of the things we were going to inspect on our own when we're done with the Zoom tonight to sort of determine. This one looks like it actually has some space left on it. This one's not too bad. At least one of the other ones that we opened the other day was really, really full. And I think that's the one that may have just come from Minnesota. And then we have a third one, right? We have 3 signed panels. Yeah, 3 signed panels. 2 of them were really full. One of them was not as full. And this is the one that's probably not as full from the looks of it.
They're putting in zip ties now. We're only going to do a few just because it is, you just want them all going in the same direction. It might be a good idea to have a zip tie sharp edge, a long edge underneath it.
Underneath.
Yeah, so that it doesn't stab people.
If when you're attaching or detaching any of the parchment or the main piece and you see any grommets starting to come loose, make a note, send us a message to Lori, who will be your sort of go-between. because we have equipment to fix that if it's, crucial.
Okay.
Um,
Who's Lori?
part of-
You haven't met Lori yet, I don't think. She's going to be the coordinator who sort of coordinates the handoffs.
Okay.
We'll be looping her in very shortly, and she'll be starting to set up meetings or times to talk to you guys soon.
Okay.
So you would actually sister together with zip ties, each one of these grommets, there's a link, it should match perfectly. And just try to make it so that the sharp part is underneath it. So people aren't tripping over little long strands of zip ties. We also have in the kit 2 tools, and we maybe Peggy and Sean can show you the tools. And these tools will be used to take off the zip ties, just to snip them. Backbone actually asked us if you would all make sure that all the little zip tie pieces are not thrown on the ground, that they're actually collected and disposed of. I guess that's been a problem in the past. So maybe Sean can demonstrate snipping it. Yeah, they're clear, so they're hard to see, actually. So maybe we can demonstrate folding it up. Would that be good for
Mhm.
this part?
Sure.
Okay.
Come off mute. This is Mary Emney. I just wanted to say that you want to probably think through your space and how many extensions you have. We've talked a little bit on some of our other meetings about potentially putting one of the extensions up on a table so that some people don't have to get down on the ground. You may want to put the extension connected, just like we just did, or you may want to keep it out separately, depending on what your space is like. So just keep that in mind, and you can figure that out when you get it into the space. But there's a couple options there. Like, for example, you might want the configuration that you see here with a scroll plus an extension, but you might want another extension up on a table. Or you might want it folded in some way because you don't have a ton of tables. So you'll fold it to expose an area where people can sign. So I don't think any of that's very complicated, but it's just something to be aware of.
Down on the ground, I'm never getting back up again without a lot of help. So I have this garden kneeler I'm going to be sending.
So you can see here, coming with the kit are some Sharpies that have some feathers on them to give you a sense of using a quill. You can only use Sharpies on this. So if you find when you get them that the Sharpies are running low or drying out, either run out and get new ones or let us know and we'll try and get some to you overnight or something.
So the Sharpies just hook right into the feather?
Just taped on.
Oh, taped on. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And they're the big sort of wide Sharpies,
Okay.
not the skinny ones.
Yeah.
All right, Peggy, you're up. Just write anything for now. You don't have to do your final one. Just write Ohio 2026. Oh, or We the People of Ohio 2026. We're recommending to everyone that you tell the people who are signing it, put the year, Peggy. Because we found that really interesting when we walked around to see either the cities that people were from or the year that it was written. I would encourage people to include, details like that. That it makes it interesting for the viewer who comes up and walks across this and takes it all in.
Our conservator, Lori, who you'll be working with for logistics, says she thinks this will be headed for the Smithsonian.
Mm.
Oh,
So this is a garden kneeler. You can find these in any garden shop. You basically squeeze this thing here, which is why I always forget how to do it. And then you squeeze it. And you need somebody smarter. I will figure it out. And then
you see, we're learning as we go as well, right?
Yes, and I appreciate all your efforts and work. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. We're so excited that everyone's gotten so enthusiastic and that this is going to be going to so many different places in such a short amount of time. It's nothing short of a miracle, really.
Yeah.
All right.
And we just sent out our first press release today, so we'll see if the story starts to get picked up a little bit. Kathleen has figured this out. Hold on,
So
hold
I
on.
think it
Okay.
helps if you have it on a horizontal surface. So you just squeeze this and you push it down. And then it snaps into place. And then you do the same thing with the other side. You squeeze it and you push it down. And it'll
Now-
come like that. And it's not very heavy.
Is that coming with the unit?
Yes, you're borrowing mine.
Thank you.
That's
Yeah.
affirmative.
How many suitcases are there?
There are 2 suitcases. One is really quite large, this guy, the sort of greenish gray one. And then there's a more, I mean, it's still big, but it's smaller than the other one, this black one.
Okay.
And then
And then there might be a box or 2 or a bag or 2 of some other things that come along, plus the big poles and the frame kits.
Now, is Backbone the originator of this?
They
Yes,
are.
yes.
They are a local. They are a arts nonprofit based actually on Vashon Island, which is right by Seattle.
Okay.
And they are the ones who originally created this many years ago, actually.
Oh, wow.
The original one is, I don't know, 10 years old or more.
2003.
2003, 20 years old.
This is a weird, I just got these because we didn't know if some places people might hang them off of like balconies or something. And we didn't know how big the handrails would be. So this is like a ratchety thing, which is a piece of, I love it. I want. So basically it ratchets over whatever, but look at how big it gets. So, I mean, that's a lot of space. So you could hook it over something really unusual. And then it just locks into place. You have to press the little button to get it to open. So that'll be in there as well.
Do you know how wide that is? Because we have a balcony at the courthouse. We're going to
Yeah.
do railing, but it's
I had a feeling that was going to happen. That is how wide the space is that can get in. That's my hand. So that's about 4 inches maybe. But look at how wide that is. This area is a lot wider down here. So about 4 inches.
I'm going to add on to that like the event we're doing on Saturday, like I told you, we're hanging ours from a balcony.
Mhm.
And we have some 24-inch like heavy duty zip ties.
Yeah.
So if there's space to use a zip tie from a balcony, that's also an option as well.
That's a
And
good-
there should be enough, hopefully, that by the time it gets to you, there's still some of those left. If we're getting low, like people are supposed to let us know so we can replenish, or, if you have time and resources to replenish any low stock before you send it on, that would be great too.
Could you show them the balcony up there just as an example? The bar. So the court where we're going to be at the law school, they have glass panels and there's no space between the handrail and the glass panels, but there's areas between the 2 glass panels that you can slip a zip tie through, which makes it super, super secure. But then we're going to take additional clamps and put it over the upper part of the handrail, just to secure it so it doesn't flop around and makes it nice and neat. But the zip ties by themselves, remember the banner itself only weighs total, if it's suspended entirely off the ground, 18 pounds, right? So these zip ties
Per
definitely-
piece.
per the We the People section, if it's this one piece, if it was entirely off the ground. But when you have 8 feet resting on the ground, it's only like 10 pounds.
Yeah, it's pretty lightweight. I'm going to give you guys a view of the extension poles. These are collapsed down to 8 feet right now. Can you see those okay?
Yes.
Okay, so they're collapsed down to 8 feet right now. They go to 23 feet.
Wow.
3 of them operate as vertical bars, and 2 of them you lash together to make the top piece. We will try, that is all in the handbook. We're going to try and put better pictures together for you guys if we have time, and try and maybe make a separate video on that if we have time. Otherwise, we can meet with you via Zoom and sort of walk you through it and talk you through it when you do your test run, if you decide to use those kinds of poles.
Okay.
Demonstrating folding.
So you just folded it in half.
Is that that's the signature panel?
Yeah, but you fold them all the same way.
Okay.
There's no special folding for one or another. They all fold up the same way. You want to get it as narrow as possible so that it will fit back in the suitcase.
Yeah.
So you got to go one more time, I think. So that's about, I didn't count how many folds that was, but I think that's about 4. Yeah, there are creases to help guide you on the folding too. Yeah, you just roll it from there.
Tag out.
Yeah, oh, good point, Erin. At one end, you will see each of these panels has like a tag on it with an identifier. We try to roll this in such a way that the tag ends up at the end where you finish so that it sticks out so you can see it. Erin's a pro at this. She had to do a lot of rolling when we practiced earlier this week. First time we rolled them, we didn't fold it in half the one last time, and we couldn't get it back in the suitcase. And then once you have it rolled up, you just use those rubber ties to tie it back together.
Yeah, we do. We think it looks bigger.
Just need to get a bigger piece of luggage. That's the problem.
It's not us, it's the luggage.
How do you do
So that tag, that pink tag we just added identifies the roll, at least for now, that has a little space left on it for signatures.
Okay, so we're gonna take this down now. So we need somebody at each 4 of the poles.
So you start with the bottom knob, you loosen it, everyone at the same time. And then you lower that lower section. And you'll sort of feel there's like a spring. You want to push down, even though you're having a little resistance, the spring, you just push down and you turn the knob and lock it in. Then you do the next knob up, which will loosen the top section. You want to try and raise and lower simultaneously as much as possible because it makes it easier to raise and lower it. As you can see, like, we have clean shoes and stuff on. We're not walking through mud and whatnot. So we're walking on these pieces. Obviously, the signed parchment pieces you can totally walk on. This piece that I'm on right now, I would recommend not walking on as much as possible. But, if you have to walk across it to get to clamps or to pick something up, that's okay.
I think you set up first.
We're gonna take off we're just gonna take this section off as well. That slides out. That's stuck. Thank you.
Got it.
Put the knobs back on immediately, please. We do have extra washers and extra wing nuts. So if they get lost in the grass, which I'm expecting will happen, there's at least a set of 4 more. Okay. And then this can be separated out and put back in the kit.
Mary, can you make a note that we make special marks, like maybe one set has blue dots on it and the other set has pink dots on it or something? So people know which piece goes with which kit?
Because there's a kit that has pink tape on it.
Okay. You see there, they just put the clamps right onto the handle of the frame kit bag.
Good.
So you loosen that knob at the base or near the base. And then you just sort of pull up a little bit and the legs start to collapse in. Don't pinch your fingers.
And point about these is that before you tighten it, you want all the little leg pieces to be inside the 2 vertical pieces here. So yeah, you got
Sometimes they stick out a little.
because it doesn't fit correctly into the case unless it is. And
then everything just gets packed up in those 2 bags. And like you heard me just say, we will make special markings for each kit so you know which poles go with each other, okay? So here, Peggy's learning how to do the legs for the first time. Well, she figured that out fast.
you got it.
This is the part that Kathleen was talking about. Yeah. See how she had to sort of squeeze those together a little bit? And then you just tighten that again. And you're done. It's important to note that, especially if you have a practice run, it really isn't that difficult to get this all set up fairly quickly. You may not need a full 2 hours ahead of time if you have time to practice the day before. But it may not be a bad idea to give yourself more time than you need than not enough time.
Mhm.
We are now transferring to show you how to use it with the telescoping poles instead, okay? This is the other setup that you can do,
This is if you're going.
especially if you're gonna march it.
Yeah, you could also use this instead of using the backdrop frame for a stationary event. Personally, I think the backdrop frame works like a lot easier for folks. It's much more stable, but this is great for moving it from place to place if you want to do that. All right,
And you can get it taller in this scenario.
all right. So again, you're gonna walk through that whole step by step with the pictures and everything. You're gonna take 2 telescoping poles. You're gonna put them at about 15 feet. You're gonna overlap them because we want to make it super strong. You're gonna take a couple straps of this rubber strapping that we have, which are inner tube, tire inner tubes. And you're gonna put it at a couple places along here to make sure it's really secure. That's gonna be the horizontal bar. We're gonna then take another telescoping pole and put it lengthwise, the height of it. We're gonna take, so the telescope, the double one is gonna be this way. We're gonna take another telescoping pole, put it at the bottom, up to the top. We're gonna cross them over in a little bit of like about 6 inches to the top. And then we're gonna take that, wrap that strapping around several times and tie it so it's really secure on this end, and then again on that end, like that, right?
In the middle.
In the middle. So once we get all that done, and that'll be, and then you're gonna zip tie everything together with the top, across the top of the banner. Once we get that done, you in real life, we are not doing that tonight. You would then smooth it out, put some Gorilla tape on it just to make sure the top of it's folded over neatly and stuff. But we're just basically kind of showing you how to get it up and moving. So once it's in that position, then our 3 harness people, these are the carriers. The person in the center is the person who's going to be blind, right? They cannot see what's going on because they're stuck in the middle. Then you have a person on each end, 2, it's 1, 2, 3. They're going to put their harnesses on. Think of it as like a flagpole carrier in a military parade or something. They're going to put that on. And then we are going to have the banner, the bottom of the banner is going to be facing bottom of the pole. The screwy part of the pole will be down at the far end of the banner. And they're going to get that end. They're going to bend it around. They're going to stand it up. And then on the count, and then when we're ready, everybody's all stable. We're going to count to 3. 1, 2, 3. And then probably you need some helpers to help with this. They're going to lift it up together and put it into that harness, and then have it at the same height. Now we have people of different heights, right? So we would probably have to adjust the height a little bit for the poles so they're all at the same height. And we're not looking for it to be 18 feet off the ground. We are looking for it to be 10, at max 15 feet off the ground. Because, well, when they're carrying it, because it's gonna also drape, just like it did on the floor, horizontal. So there's a vertical sweep, and then it goes off horizontally, and then the attachments would be, the parchment pieces would be attached.
The
Sure.
balcony clips, the big ones, how many of those are in the kit?
2.
2, okay.
Okay, but the zip ties, we can get big zip ties. So.
Right.
So for the video, I'm just going to clarify. We are, and this is our first time doing this, so bear with us. But we are doing the setup that you would use if you are going to march or move with the banner. And as Kathleen already mentioned, it can also be used in a stationary situation if you so desire. You will get a little more height than if you put it on the backdrop frames, but it's a lot more work. And, you know, you have to have 3 people standing there holding these poles at all times. So I'm just going to show you real quick while they're working on what they're working on. the vertical poles, as you can see, the vertical poles go point down, meaning this metal point on the vertical bars points towards the bottom of the We the People panel. With a horizontal crossbar, the metal points point towards the middle. There's 5 total poles. 5 total poles, 3 vertical, 2 horizontal.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna, you're seeing right there, we're gonna demonstrate that you're gonna take a couple of these and lash these together so that we want it to be about 6 inches longer on each end than the actual length of the banner.
We need this end to stick out beyond the edge about 6 inches, a little bit more. That's probably good.
Just enough overlap.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I think you gotta go around a few times. Like,
Not that long though.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
you can do it one more time.
whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you get it twice around though.
Okay.
Maybe. Yeah, you get it twice.
You want it as tight as possible. And then, like in this case, with how much they're extended, if we had enough rubber ties, we do have enough. Just so you all know, we have enough rubber ties. They just happen to be at our colleague's house being washed right now. Start in the middle here. And then you're gonna wanna do a couple more along parts of the overlap area,
Yeah, the center.
just to make sure everything's really nice and secure through the middle section.
The nice thing about this inner tube is it grips really, really well. So the next thing you do is you go over to the corners, you overlap them about 6 inches. The nice thing about this is that this is about 6 inches. I think right. So you just have this one above.
Sorry, let me move position.
You have it 6 inches above, like that, yeah. And then you crisscross.
So you're saying the gray handles
Yeah.
are about,
Oh, wait, sorry, we take the center bar and put it on top, sorry. Yeah, good, yeah. All right, so you would knot it really tightly and you would check it, like to make sure it's super, super secure. And if it means you need another inner tube piece, then you need another inner tube piece.
Even that's pretty stable. I didn't really tie it that tight. So
Yeah, and he didn't even stress it. Great, okay, so we're gonna pretend like this whole thing's assembled. That the entire banner is zip tied to the top, that the edges are folded under and gorilla taped around the top. And if you look at the top, actually you can see it where the top of it is. You see how some of the colors off on the other side. Yeah, you see how some of the colors off? That's where the gorilla tape has been in the past, and they have taken it off again, right? So
can you just maybe try and show us? It's one that like we all kind of understand what we're talking about, but they've never seen it before. Can we? I know we're not assembled, but can we show an example of what you mean by folding it over and taping it? We don't have to do the whole piece, but maybe part of it.
So Erin, could you just hook that on there? And then so you'd zip tie it around all of them. Each one would get like that. And then we're just gonna show. Because if we just zip tied it, then it wouldn't really look as nice. So what the Backbone recommends is that you then gorilla tape it down on the back of it. Cut it. There you go. So you just like kind of curl it around to the back of it a little bit, and then you just take some duct tape. Yeah, take the gorilla tape and just put it on it, and then slide it to the back, so that it'll have a nice smooth finish all the way down the length of it. And it'll be curled over like that. So the grommets don't show. So now I'm going to show the 3 of you guys with the harnesses I was talking about. So here's harness 1.
These are real harnesses.
2. It says on here, right shoulder. Can you see that? Right shoulder. So you put that on so that the little pocket goes in the front. So much of this has been trying to figure it out as we go along, right?
Absolutely. There.
So then she would adjust this to whatever height was comfortable for her.
It's a find a friend job right here.
Yeah, this is part of why it takes a while to do this thing. The idea is that it takes the weight off of your body. Each of you are going to grab one of the poles.
What Kathleen means by the handle part is there's one end that has like a gray sort of rubber plastic end. That's the part that goes up towards the sky.
And this is the extendable part, and that is the, has this place to.
That
put
goes-
Painter's pole.
That's the part that goes in the pocket. Aaron, other way.
So I think this would be very good to practice to first do it like this. So like he can't make it shorter, but you guys could make yours a little bit longer to try to get it to be like the same height. We would have this thing set up, they'd all be attached, and we'd have the center one actually attached in the middle in the back, right?
You will start on the ground and then you will work together as a team, lifting your poles up.
We walk through those. Yeah.
And you sort of take a few steps forward as it gets lifted up because the
Yes,
cloth.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's.
Sean, can you show that again? So you're basically, when it's on the ground, all connected, at the same time, all three of you will sort of walk forward like that
Right.
and pretend there's cloth on here. So then you're all going to get stabilized and somebody's going to count out to the count of 3. And on the count of 3, all 3 of you raise at the same time and place the pole into your pocket.
Just we're having a spot.
So
Sequel gives Aaron would be helpful.
I'm, in case you couldn't hear what Kathleen just said, she recommended that, and it's in the guidebook as well. It is at this point that it is a good idea to have 1 or 2 extra people who help with the count and help guide the poles into the pockets, okay? People who are not pole holders, just extra people to help guide everything in. So Sean, why don't you take yours out and then let's do a 3 count.
So on the count of 3, you're gonna slowly try to synchronize and lift everything together.
Walking forward.
We're going to count to 3. And then anybody who's here to help, for example, we say 1, 2, 3, lift, and then slowly lift, and each person can help get it there. There you go. When you go to put it down, we're gonna do it again. We're gonna reverse it. 1, 2, 3, and you're gonna put it down, okay? 1, 2, 3, put it down. All right, slide it straight down. And then there, and then you then remember the banner's on top, right across the top here. So you're gonna be kind of behind it. So you're gonna start stepping backwards and walking it back, so it's on the ground. And then the whole thing can either be unhooked from all the different inner tube sections that we attach. Poles can be folded down into their smallest size. And you can wrap them in the inner tubing to transport them so they're not rattling around. Point, really important, especially if you're going to put this in a car, you must make sure that all sections of the telescoping poles are down to the lowest position and tightened.
To fit in most cars, you need them to the lowest point. So that's great. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Is there anything else, Mary Ann, that you think we need to film or cover?
Only a minor point on
Sorry.
what Kathleen was just saying is that you probably will want a piece of cushioning to put on the end, at least on the sharper ends of the poles when you load them into your car. So I've transported these types of poles before, and if you could just get a piece of felt or a blanket or something and just tie them around the ends, that means whichever, and generally we put the pointy ends toward the backs of our cars and then tie those off, and that protects the window or the hatch that they're on.
The handle should go towards the windshield.
Yeah, handle should go through toward your windshield.
Right.
That was all.
Great, thank you. When Kathleen and I first got these, it took us a minute to figure out how to sort of like loosen everything up and put these as tight as possible. You have to loosen both pieces.
Yeah,
Just do the top part.
like here, open the pickle jar, right?
You have to loosen both sections to get one second.
And they both have to be tightened, the top and the bottom, to full tightness.
Okay, that concludes our demonstrations of both in the first part, the setup of a stationary, the banner station in a stationary configuration using the backdrop stands. And then in the second part, showing how to use the extendable poles in order to either elevate the banner higher or to march it in a parade. Thanks for your attention. Send us questions on the Signal chat. Thank you.